I used to believe weddings were about joy, about family standing together, promising just for one day to be on the same side. But mine didn't turn out that way. It started with the cake. Not just flour and sugar. This was the one thing I let myself splurge on. 3 tiers, matte ivory with brushed copper edges. Sugar worked so fine it looked like it could shatter in the air. A single phrase piped along the base. Jonah and Elise. It cost me nearly $4,200. Too much maybe, but after the year we just survived, I wanted one thing to feel untouched. Then my younger brother, Mason, walked in. 23. Late of course, hair still damp, tight, crooked, smelling faintly of some designer cologne he couldn't afford. He didn't greet anyone, didn't bring a gift, just drifted toward the cake table like the whole reception was staged for his entrance. He leaned against it. One elbow. A lazy shift of weight. The kind of move you make when you're bored. The table rocked. The cake swayed and then it collapsed. Gasps. Frosting sprayed across the floor like shattered porcelain. The top tier slid right into Elise's dress. Pale silk stare with buttercream and sugared petals. And Mason laughed. One word. Oops. Dad was beside me instantly, his voice low, careful, like he'd rehearsed it. You know how he gets when things don't go his way. Not an apology, not accountability, just another excuse. I didn't move, didn't speak, just stared at the wreckage, the one thing I thought would survive the day. Later, in the bathroom, Elise and I leaned over the sink, blotting her dress with wet towels. Her voice shook. He did that on purpose, didn't he? I met her eyes in the mirror. He asked me for a house deposit. I said, her brows knit together. 92,000. I added. She didn't need me to explain the rest. She already knew. I'd said no. And Mason made sure everyone noticed. That night after the last guest left, I sat at my desk. On the screen, a folder labeled Mason Help. Inside, loan agreements, co-sign papers, 10.5 grand sitting in an account ready to bail him out. I didn't feel angry. I felt steady. I closed the accounts, removed my name from his paperwork. The next morning, my phone lit up. Mason, what the hell? Did you pull out? Are you serious? Dad, this must be a misunderstanding. Let's talk. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was the first time I'd said no without adding a justification. And in the silence that followed, I could still hear the boy I used to be, the kid who once got punished for not handing over his bike. 12 years old, learning that silence would be mistaken for agreement. But that cake, it wasn't clumsiness. It was a message. And this time, I sent one back. Mason called, voice sharp and full of wounded pride. You ruined my future, he said. No, I told him. I just stopped paying for it. He hung up. By the weekend, he'd posted a video online, teary-eyed, captioned, "When your brother sabotages your dreams because he can't stand to see you win." Hundreds of thousands of views. Strangers feeling sorry for him, never knowing he'd never gone without because I'd always been there paying the bills he couldn't. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I opened a folder labeled receipts, screenshots, transfers, emails, years of quiet rescues. I sent one email to his realtor. I am no longer financially connected to Mason. Attached everything. No threats, just facts. For the first time in years, I slept without checking my phone twice. Not peace yet, but close. The final break came over brunch a week later. Dad called it a reset. Pancakes, fresh coffee, flowers on the table. Halfway through, he sighed. We've all made mistakes. Maybe it's time to forgive, which meant forget that I set my fork down. All right, let's talk about mistakes. Silence. Let's talk about destroying a wedding cake because you didn't get $92,000. Let's talk about inventing a sower story for clicks. Mason rolled his eyes. You're still hung up on that. No, I said, I'm done being hung up. I'm done being the villain in your story just because I wouldn't bankroll it. Elisa's hand found mine under the table. We stood. We walked out. No one followed. That was my answer. A week later, we moved into a small house outside the city. Quiet street. No buzzing group chats. No guilt dripping from the walls. Just us. One night unpacking, I found an old shoebox, letters from Mason when we were kids, thank yous, dumb jokes, drawings. I sat on the floor reading under a lamp, and for the first time, I let myself grieve. Not for the cake, not for the house, for the brother I used to know before entitlement rewrote the way he saw me. I cried. Then I shredded the letters, took out the trash. Some things aren't meant to be carried forever. The truth is, cutting my name from his life wasn't revenge. It wasn't anger. It was a boundary drawn sharp with no apologies. The moment I finally chose myself, and maybe that's what strength really is. Not holding everyone up. Not fixing what they break.